Hey everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Creating My Own Texture Pack series where I walk around the overworld and I slowly pick out all the blocks that I'm going to be editing. In last episode we did the grass and the dirt blocks, including the tall grass and the short grass, and today obviously we're in a cave, as you can see by the image that's shown up right here. And the first two blocks I see are stone and coal. So these are what we're going to be going over in our episode today. And yeah, let's get this started. So as you can see here, I'm just navigating through. I have a separate folder for the default textures. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm selecting stone out of there, and I'm just going to be opening it and trying to see what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and how I want to slowly adjust it to the rest of the textures in the texture pack. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and grab the dirt block so I can kind of sort of judge them side by side and figure out what I do and don't want, or I guess how I want the two textures to match up a little bit, just because they're going to be around each other so often, might as well. So here, I'm bringing the dirt block into Photoshop. I know, I'm really slow about this. This is like my first real time making textures. I slowly get better as the videos go on. Trust me, it does get better. And what I'm slowly doing here is I'm adjusting the levels just because, that's what I did with the grass and the dirt block. I brought them just a little bit darker because I want a darker themed texture pack. So now that I've more or less got the lighting how I want it, I'm going to slowly start to edit the highlights and the contrast between all the textures so that it isn't as bright in certain spots. And I'm zooming out here, and this is looking pretty good to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to export it as a PNG, and I'm going to save it in a location in the new texture pack folder that I'm creating, and then I'm moving it into the resources folder, or the whatchamacallit, the resource pack folder, so that I can, then slide it on in and see what it looks like with just the dirt and stone added in. So yeah, this is stone, and here's what it looks like in game. Now it's just time for us to work on the coal ore, because that sticks out like a sore thumb. So yeah, let's get on into that. Obviously, I'm going to do what I did like the last one, and just what I'm going to do with every single other texture that I work on in this entire game is I'm going to take the coal ore default texture, and then I'm going to adjust it and shift it to whatever the heck I want, however I want it to look, and I'm obviously going to try and make it match the stone that I just created. So the first piece of the puzzle for the coal ore is obviously going to be bringing the stone ore texture in and making the two match a little bit so that I don't have to manually do the brightness and levels layers and adding contrast. This will more or less do it on its own. It's a trick that I used for the grass blocks in the last episode. And after that, I decide, all right, time to take the highlights out, start to even it all, make the texture just blend just that tiny little bit more to get the attention to detail that I'm looking for. Now that we have the coal ore texture in the game, it's starting to more or less look like it matches pretty dang well. I start to look at it and I'm like, okay, I need a little bit more variety. And I remember something that I learned was stone isn't always in the exact same place. If you really look, you can start to see that each of the textures, even though there's one texture, they're mirrored. And I'm like, okay, I think I kind of want to have that going on and have the block rotate a little bit, just so there's just that tiny bit more variety that happens. Now that I've realized that I want there to be some variability in the coal, I head back over into the resources folder, or the resource folder, and I go specifically to the models folder, and I take the stone mirrored JSON file, and I copy all of that information, copy the file itself, and then just rename it coal ore mirrored, just to have that mirroring aspect. Obviously it doesn't go well. I'm going to show you guys what I did this first time. I literally just spelled something wrong, and this is what happens when you have a missing texture in Minecraft. Try not to do that. So I fix it and get it back to how I want it, get the orientation that I need, and yeah, this is how it looks. Now all we have to do, since the coal ore mirrored file is in place, we head back into our main folder where all of our files are, and I go into block states, and I find the coal ore JSON file, and I change the coal ores, all of the coal ores, to have half of them as coal ore and half of them as coal ore mirrored, so that whenever the game calls a coal ore, it'll obviously call them both. So this, looks good, but I want it to look better. What I end up doing is I steal the netherrack block state folder, and I see that it has a million different rotations and orientations of the block. So I take that and I do the exact same thing that I did with the stone. Coal mirrored, coal mirrored, back and forth all the way till it's done. Now this is what I'm talking about. All that's left is to finalize the coal texture, so here we go. Not too shabby if I don't say so for myself. So pretty happy with how these all turned out, and I think that's going to be it for this episode. Obviously no textures are finalized. I can still edit these and make them exactly how I want, but yeah, this is how I did stone and coal. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll check you out in the next one.